you, Bill. So they are the brave men and women who fight to defend our country, and now U.S. soldiers could see some major cuts to their health and pension benefits. But one Republican congressman is making it his mission to remind Americans that the #1 thing Congress should do is protect the nation. Watch some of this.
When I came to Congress, the Army brigades were about 76, now they're 45, and there was supposed to be 130 B-2s. Well, that was cut down to 21. And our fighter squadrons have dropped from 82 to 39. Strategic bombers, 360 down to 154. We've got B-52s that the pilots now are probably the grandsons of the pilots that flew them originally. We've got B-1s that are being retired, and our average tanker is 47 years old. We're the smallest Navy we've been since 1916.
Wow, that last fact is really stunning. The smallest Navy we've had since 1916. Congressman Bud McKeon is the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, and he's our guest in the studio today. Congressman, welcome.
Thank you,
Good to have you here today.
Good to be with you.
You know, we're hearing so much about across-the-board cuts and that everything has to be on the table. And if the super committee does not come up with the cuts that they're required to come up with, then these triggers will kick in, and that could mean cuts of $900 billion in defense, right?
Actually, even higher than that. We've already cut $465 billion, and if the sequestration kicks in, it'll be over another $500 billion. You know, we understand that defense has to be on the table, just as everything else is. Out of a budget as large as the defense industry has, there has to be some way to save some money, but we have saved a lot. And to try to break the back of the recession on the backs of the military means who's going to have our back the next time we're attacked.
Yeah. And there's a lot of discussion, obviously, about the pension and benefits packages that are received by the military. And obviously, this is a hugely sensitive area because everybody wants these people who put their life on the line to be well taken care of after that. But it's interesting that, you know, if you're not in 20 years, you're not getting any of this package. And a lot of these packages are in the neighborhood of $26,000 a year in pension. So we're not talking about a lot of money in most cases for most of these people, right?
You know, I was down visiting some troops down at Camp Lejeune Saturday. I was talking to some of the Marines and their wives, and this is a big concern that they have going forward. I had a call from a young boy that I saw grow up who's now an Army or an Air Force physician down in San Antonio last week. He's concerned about his pension. He's been in 12 years. Should I re-up? What's my future going to be? Our troops that go outside the line over in Afghanistan every day should not be having to think about what their retirement's going to be, what their pension's going to be. Are they going to be able to stay in the military? The problems that they're having and the effect that this is having on their families. That is not fair. And I think we need to remember the Marine motto, Semper Fidelis, always faithful. What about the faithfulness that we have to the military, the promises that we've made to them?
Absolutely. You know, there is this idea floated, and I talked to General Bob Scales about it a few weeks ago, and he was very much against it. But and Leon Panetta is saying this would not be for people who are currently in the military, but in the future, that maybe they should invest in some kind of 401k plan that would potentially allow their investments in their retirement to grow at a higher rate, one would hope.
Well, I think if we want to look at something for future, but it's not what affects the military right now. When they signed up, promises were made.
Absolutely.
Those promises should be kept. In the future, I think you know, we need to look at things. We also need to understand what it's going to mean to keep an all-volunteer force. Do we want to reinstitute the draft? Some of the cuts we're talking about would take over 200,000 out of end strength of our military.
Yeah. It's amazing to me that you could do 2 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. If you're not in for 20 years, you're not going to see any of this money in pension. And maybe that's something that we need to rethink as well, to some degree.
We lost a Special Forces soldier a couple of months ago that was on his 10th deployment. 2, 4, 5,
And he would be
6.
eligible for nothing. He would have been, correct?
Right.
All right. Congressman Bud McKeon, very good to see you today. Thank you for bringing this to our attention.
Thank you,
sir.
for having me. All right.